Hello developers, writers, and everyone who loves game design.
Welcome to DLC Not Included, our weekly podcast where we discuss game development, the industry, and everything in between.
We're your hosts, Steele
and Teal. Glad you could join us.
All right, episode 12 of the revival of the DLC Not Included podcast, and today we're going to talk about a very important topic.
Yes, it is. It is protecting your intellectual property.
Absolutely. If you are a creative, you need to know about this because you have to protect yourself.
Yes.
Ideas are a dime a dozen, but when you start creating, you need to make sure that what you create belongs to you.
Yes.
Now, we have to give a preface, don't we?
Okay, yes. I do want to say before we start, okay, we're not lawyers, and as such, we cannot dispense legal advice. These are merely recommendations based on our personal experience and research. Please consult a real attorney if you have any legal questions.
Right. That is very important you all understand that. So we're giving you research-based recommendations, not actual legal advice. So let's start with the big one. What exactly is intellectual property?
Well, my favorite go-to, the Oxford Dictionary, defines intellectual property as a work or invention that is a result of creativity, such as a manuscript or design, to which one has rights, and for which one may apply for a patent, a copyright, trademark, etc.
Right. So this is going to include a myriad of things.
So many things.
So many things. So we'll go over a few. Publications such as books, novellas, short stories, scripts, screenplays. There is a difference. Your actual game script. Those are publications.
Music, such as original works or short compositions, even jingles.
Now, video games, like your prototypes, your demos, a completed game, stuff like that.
Artistic designs, like artwork, logos, packaging. This is a massive category,
right?
Artistic design.
Art is kind of one of those lumped into a lot of things.
There's a lot of things that go under artistic.
But speaking of designs, you can also have industrial designs.
Oh, yeah.
You think that has nothing to do with the video game industry, but it does. There would be things like your engineering drafts, architectural blueprints, circuit designs for VR equipment.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And so much more, right?
Oh, there's many, many more. Anything that's a process, a formula, certain scientific instruments. Yeah. This is all considered intellectual property.
Right. The list goes on and on and on and on. The formula for Coca-Cola is intellectual property. But also specific code for a game engine, specific code for an artificial intelligence.
That's right.
All of that is an IP. Now, what does intellectual property not include?
Okay, I want to say, first and foremost, ideas.
Right.
Okay, it does not include an idea.
You cannot say that you own an idea. You can own the implementation of the idea. So if you come up with this fantastic idea for a video game where the protagonist becomes the final boss, you don't own that.
No, you don't. You don't own, let's say, I'm thinking about yellow umbrellas.
Right.
So a yellow umbrella goes on an adventure. Guess what? That you can't.
Right.
The idea of a yellow umbrella going on an adventure cannot be copyrighted.
No, it cannot. And along with that, the results of conversations and brainstorming. So
yes.
Teal and I sit down at a cafe and we hash out this amazing storyline, this amazing group of characters with this innovative gameplay idea. It means nothing until we actually start putting it down.
Correct. Right. Abandoned works.
That's another one.
Yeah.
The length of time will vary, right?
Yes, the length of time will vary depending on, I guess, your country, your region, whatever your the laws are where you're at. But no, you cannot protect abandoned works.
Yeah, there comes a point in time where if you don't work on it, if you don't do anything with it, it starts becoming public domain, which once something is public domain, it can never be yours again.
Correct.
Ever.
Right.
It belongs to the public. And then the last one is protection from criticism and transformation, i.e.
That's fair use.
Yeah, fair use.
Yeah, fair use.
Which let me talk a little bit about that.
Please. Because fair use comes up a lot in our community.
It really does. It comes up a lot in our community. It comes up a lot. Streamers in general, YouTubers, etc. Let's say that I own the rights to a game.
Yeah.
And it's my game, and I own the rights to it. I have it copyrighted, I have the logo trademarked, etc. And Teal decides to do a full Let's Play series of it.
Yeah.
And during the entire time, she's commenting on the levels, she comments on the characters, the design, etc. That's called transformation. She's taking my work, but she's transforming it for the purposes of critique.
Yes.
I don't own that. I can't sue her for that. I can't legally do anything. And technically, according to YouTube, I shouldn't even be able to take it down because she owns the rights to that. She's transforming it. Also, same thing with criticism. You can't do that. So people think that there's this, you can't use my face when I webcasted this game series. If I'm criticizing or transforming it, I absolutely can.
Yeah.
I absolutely can. And here's, so that's kind of my stake on that.
Look, I just want to say that if you want to protect your IP, then you have to put the intangible into something tangible. Right. Okay, so an idea, put it down on paper or an electronic document, something. It has to be a tangible something. Then you can protect it.
My favorite line is from the movie Amadeus.
Oh, yeah.
Where they constantly tell Mozart, write it down. It does no one any good in your head.
Yeah.
So the same thing can be said about your intellectual property. It does no good if you talk about it. You got to actually create it.
That's right.
So now that we've made sure that is clear.
That we are clear on what intellectual property is and is not.
Now we can go into ways to protect your IP.
Yeah.
That's going to be the bulk of the rest of this conversation. This podcast may not be very long but we're going to delve the rest of this time into the protection of your IP because it's not what people think it is. People before we get started, people think that protecting your IP is just a copyright. It's not. It's beyond just that.
There's so much more to it than just a copyright.
So before we start going any further, we're going to go over the 4 general categories of intellectual property as defined by WIPO.
And WIPO stands for World Intellectual Property Organization.
It's actually WIPO, but WIPO just sounds hilarious.
WIPO.
Okay, so the first one's going to be copyrights.
Obviously, copyrights. We start with copyrights.
Literally everyone always talks about copyrights. What is a copyright? A copyright is a written or artistic expression that is fixed in some kind of tangible medium, like a paper. You can tell I'm reading off a paper, guys. This definition is legit, though. It is something that is written on a tangible medium like paper or an electronic document.
Right. Okay. So, for example, it would be a novel or a poem or a song or a game.
Yeah, it's this game you're making.
Yeah.
It's the game. It's the script for the game you're making. The game itself.
Yeah.
That's your copyright.
That's your copyright.
Okay. Then we have trademarks.
Trademarks, my favorite.
Yes.
Okay. So trademarks are names, they're phrases, they're sounds or symbols that are used in association with your product or service. If you have a service and your trademark, you can do that. You can trademark something associated with your service.
This is that cool title, like, bravely, exly, awesomely defaulted. Or the logo for that game.
Yeah, your game logo definitely is a trademark.
Or the tagline, they never saw it coming. I mean, that's all a trademark.
It is.
I will not actually say this trademark out loud, but there's a very famous announcer who would always say, it's time to rumble. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. He trademarked that.
That's trademarked.
I can't legally say that. That is a trademark. What's next?
Now let's get into patents.
Oh, yes.
These are very costly and time consuming to get because of what they are.
What are they?
A patent excludes anyone else from manufacturing or marketing your unique and tangible thing.
Right. So, let's say you design the haptic pants for your game or for any game. And you have the exact design for this haptic feedback article of clothing.
Yes.
That patent excludes anyone else from creating
that specific thing.
Now, here's the reason why patents are a big deal. You have to publish a patent. It becomes public knowledge. And that allows, this, at least in the United States, people to work around and say, okay, I want to make these haptic pants, but I'm going to do it a little differently. And if they do, they're not breaking your patent.
Right.
That's free market. That's fair. That's fair. But they can't do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Very costly and very important. And then we have the last one.
Oh, the last one of my favorites. Trade secrets.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes. You can protect trade secrets.
Which are things like
formulas, patterns, devices, or maybe a compilation of data.
Yeah.
Granting you an advantage over your competitors.
So what is that in relation to a video game? That would be like if you created a new and innovative damage formula.
Yes.
For your game, or some type of AI. Something that just completely alters and makes your game a cut above the rest.
Yeah.
That's a trade secret. So we've gone over those. You need to know those 4 categories because people always think, oh, it's just copyrights for video games. It's not.
No.
At the very least, you're going to have a copyright and a trademark.
That's right.
That is bare minimum.
And kudos to you if you actually do invent something that requires a patent or a trade secret. Man, I bow down to you.
You have our respect. If you make those haptic pants, let me know. Haptic pants. Now we have to tell you a sad truth.
Okay.
This is not going to be comfortable for you to hear if you're a budding game developer who's thinking that you now have a surefire way to protect your game.
Sorry, but the best way to keep others from stealing your IP, especially before it's released to the general public,
is just not to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're thinking to yourself, well, if I talk about my game, then people will use the honor system. There's no honesty there.
No.
People aren't going to steal your ideas, but they may very well steal your game.
Yeah.
And until you have something that you can put in one of those protective categories, you're running the risk of someone stealing your intellectual property. There is nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
Once it's in the public's hands, once it's in the hands of a person who takes your game and puts it under their name, that whole, was it NTS thing we talked about?
The NFT?
NFT, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we can go over that.
We can go over that in a bit. But yeah, it's just, you don't have too much of a leg to stand on at that point. So your best way is to just keep it quiet.
Yeah, keep it quiet.
Keep it quiet.
It's legit. And it's okay. I know that we're all parts of communities, especially the game dev communities. We all like to talk about ideas, and that's fine.
Ideas are great.
But if you have that real project, you make sure you don't reveal it until it's ready to go out. Now, we're not talking about peer reviewing. We're not talking about...
Oh, no. We're not talking about that.
We're talking about general public. Hey, Haas here. There's a reason why the Rosenhart's video game is not something we broadcast out to the public. They have an MV demo. We've already protected that portion of it. But the actual game itself, we only talk about people in our community, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because we're protecting it. Now, there is a caveat to that. Once the game's out in the public hands, there's sort of a social aspect that comes into play. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we're talking on a legal standpoint, keep your stuff secret.
Right, because let me tell you something. Catching someone once they steal your IP is very difficult. Punishing them legally is even harder. Yeah, I've seen the news stories, the headlines. It is difficult.
Right.
And unfortunately, you're never, ever going to get your property completely back.
It's true.
Once it's out there, and you're just, it's not going to be completely yours.
Now, some people, especially hobbyists, I'm not using that as an ugly word, it's just the reality, don't care. And that's fine. If you do not care about it, then throw it at the world. Make your game open source. In fact, sometimes open source is a way to protect it because then that social aspect kicks in.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's yours, and if someone tries to pass it off as theirs, they're going to get slapped down. Certain places like YouTube can kind of protect your rights. Twitch the same way.
Yeah.
But that's platform dependent. And
yes, it is.
That's not legal. That is not legal. If someone issues a copyright claim and YouTube takes down a video, that's not them legally protecting your rights. That's their terms of service.
Right.
So the big one, of course, is social pressure.
Social pressure. The court of public opinion.
That stigma of being a thief.
That is that's on your side.
Yeah, and that'll protect
That's on your side. That'll protect you up to a point.
Once your stuff is out to the public.
Yeah.
So, for example, talking about the Rosenhart's MV demo, if someone tried to pass that game or those characters off as their own, the RPG Maker community would jump on them.
Yeah.
Because they know we did it. So that absolutely helps. Does it help against the legal aspect? No. But society is insanely strong. We are hardwired to condemn intellectual property theft.
Yeah, we are.
We are hardwired as a society to go, hey, that's not cool what you just did.
Yeah, that belongs to the other dude. I saw him do that.
And the fear of that is enough to keep a lot of IP thefts at bay.
Yeah.
It can't help legally. It can't help financially, but it can offer succor in a time like that.
Yeah.
So
let me just say the final word on all this.
Right.
You cannot fully protect your IP in every way forever.
Nope.
Just look at Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
But you can keep it safe before release, and you can soften the impact of any theft thereafter.
100%. Mickey Mouse, again, was a great example. Yes, Disney owns the rights to it. You can't make money off of it, but do you see it at every daycare? Every corner drugstore has Mickey Mouse stuff. Stickers.
Right, stickers.
On Etsy. I mean, you can't. It's not possible, but they can soften the impact by protecting their IP, which they do. Very much so. So now that we've gone over that, now we can kind of... do you want to talk about the NT? I can never get it right, honey.
Okay, you can't. It's NFT.
You want to talk briefly about that?
Okay, very briefly, because that is its own separate topic. But if some of you have been following the business news, then you've heard about non-fungible tokens.
Right.
And basically, these things are virtual tags that can be attached to a piece of artwork. And whenever that piece of artwork is sold, then the person who owns that NFT gets a small percentage of the sale, just maybe like 1% or something.
Yeah.
And so every time it sells, it goes up in value, and you get more and more profit from it, from having that NFT.
Right.
The downside to having an NFT is that the owner of that NFT doesn't have to be the original artist.
Right.
Unfortunately, anybody who creates the NFT becomes the owner of that NFT. And there's no way to... at this time, there's no way to change that.
Now, to make sure everyone understands, this does not mean ownership of the property.
No, it's just ownership of that particular... virtual tag.
Right. That's all it is. So while it can allow a thief to make money, it doesn't mean they own that intellectual property.
Well, they
correct?
don't own it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So just keep aware of that, like Teal said.
So if you do create, just to say, if you do create an image, you draw this cute little character sprite. It's very unique. No one else has done it before, and you copyright it. Go ahead and create an NFT tag for it too, so that when you license that art for use somewhere, every time that's sold, you get a little bit of a residual
profit.
All
it is.
And NFT is a great way to make a little bit of extra money on your work.
Yeah, a little bit. So it's not, again, it's not intellectual property securing. It's just a part of the financial aspect.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've gone over that, let's go over how you actually can protect the intellectual property itself.
Yes.
Okay, this is the big one. Be aware of what your IP actually is and where it is stored. Remember, you don't own the idea of your game.
No.
You own the actual game itself, the digital piece.
Right.
And you own the game script. So it's a hard copy of the script, a digital copy of the game, and its assets.
Right. Where it's stored, like on the cloud.
Right.
So as Steele said, you as the creator, you need to be aware of where you're putting your creation.
Yeah. Make sure that the copies that are out are encrypted.
Yes, encrypted and protected.
Yeah. It's easy to create The engine that we often deal with on Monday nights, RPG Maker, has the ability to actually encrypt.
Yes,
It's
it does.
not the most powerful encryption, but it's encryption.
It is encryption.
And the biggest thing you need to remember is that thieves are lazy. The easier it is for them to get their hands on something, the more they're going to do. And the more obstacles you put in the way of a thief through encryption, et cetera, more likely they're just going to go.
They're going to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to move on to easier fish.
So, if possible, find a way to encrypt. You have your game files offline secured on a hard drive. Make sure that hard drive is encrypted.
That's right.
If it's on the cloud, use a service that encrypts in transit as well as at rest. Little things that if you do a little bit of research, you can keep your IP safe.
Yes.
What next?
As soon as your game is finished, your creation, get that copyright or the trademark or the patent, whatever is needed.
Right.
Get that done as soon as you finish your work. I mean that. Do not wait.
Now,
because trademarks and patents take time, and you want to minimize the amount of time that your property is quote unquote unprotected. Right.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say this, prefacing I am not a lawyer. So I'm not giving anyone legal advice. This is just a recommendation based off of what we've researched. Don't file for copyrights while it's a whip, because you're going to have to file an update. At least that's how it's been in the United States. Maybe the laws have changed. Maybe it's different in your country. Please do not quote me on this, but we recommend that you file for the copyright when it's complete. Yeah. It's a gray area, and if you have to create extra work for yourself, probably not a good idea. But you can trademark that damn logo in the name of your game the moment you're ready. So do it. For example, potentially the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be called Redfall. And they filed for that trademark almost immediately.
Yes, they did.
It ran into some contention with an author who has a book series called Redfall. And that's trademark. So if you want to protect your stuff immediately, trademark your game name.
Yeah. Trademarks are expensive.
Yes.
So only file what you're going to use.
You're not unless you're part of a AAA studio, then hi, how you doing? You don't have those thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to file a bunch of trademarks. However, there's a happy side to all this.
What is the happy side, Steele?
The moment you start to create something, you technically, I say in air quotes, own it.
Yeah, that's true.
You technically do. And I know that's the case here in the U.S. It's probably the case elsewhere. Hey, if you're listening and you're from another country, let us know in the comments, if this is on YouTube, if it's different in your country. But technically in the U.S., when you start to create something, you technically own it. That means that no one can steal the game itself. So like if you're making a game starring Wally the Milkshake who battles in a mechanical dinosaur, that exact game is yours technically. I say in air quotes, the moment you start making it.
Right.
So if you start doing it and someone else tries to put out the same thing, you have a leg to stand on. It's going to be hard as hell.
It's going to be very difficult, but you can conceivably win a court battle with that.
Right, because that protection only goes so far. So you really want to file that copyright. We're kind of stressing that. Really file that copyright as soon as you're able to.
Yes.
What else?
Really, it boils down to please be vigilant for people stealing your IP. Whether it's the game, its assets, the code, because at the end of the day, you are the one that stands the most to lose from this step. So be your own counterintelligence.
Yes. Think of yourself as being part of a secret government that is protecting the secrets from all the spies ever. You are the white spy or the black spy.
Yeah, spy versus spy.
Right, from the other side.
Yeah.
Damn that gray spy. But seriously, think of it that way. Be a little paranoid. Just a little paranoid. The community that you're in, if you're part of a game development community, can be vigilant as well.
Absolutely.
On their terms.
I know the RPG Maker community is.
Yes, they are.
They're very well known for being vigilant.
Yeah, they actually are really good protection. If someone tries to steal something that's a part of that community, everyone else is going to jump on their shit.
Yeah.
How many times have we had someone try to pass off Yanfly's code as their own, and literally the community has torn them apart?
Yes.
So but that's not legal recourse. That's social pressure.
It's social pressure, right?
So, anyone who helps your game, anyone, have them sign an NDA, which stands for
non-disclosure agreement.
In other words, if someone's going to do your work for your game and see what your game is about, and they're not a part of that core team, they can't talk about it legally.
Yeah.
They can't talk about it.
And see, that's why it harkens back to what I've said in previous podcasts and even some of our courses that we've taught.
Right.
Is you have got to enter every transactional relationship as a business partnership. So if someone is going to do your art, then you need to have a contract. If someone's doing your music, have a contract. Someone is, whatever they're doing, have a contract. Both of you sign.
Yeah.
And a part of the contract, part of the terms is going to be an NDA.
Yeah.
And if that contract isn't signed, they don't do any work for you.
There you go. Some people like to try to also slip in an NCA. We're not going to talk about that. That's non-compete agreement. I have nothing to say about that. That's its own thing. We talk about NDAs here.
Just NDA. Yeah, we're talking about NDA.
Another thing you want to consider too is keep the parts of your game that you want a secret until the gold release.
Yeah, because I know it's so you're so excited about it. And you want to talk about it. You want to go into forums and you want to go into Discord and you want to tell people, hey, this thing I'm doing, blah 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 blah.
Awesome thing.
Yeah.
A great example of that.
Think before you speak.
Thank you. A great example of that. CD Projekt Red. I know we usually say negative things about Cyberpunk 2077. I'm going to say something positive. Minor spoilers to the game. CD Projekt Red let everyone know Johnny Silverhand was somehow in the game.
Yes, he did.
What they didn't tell you about the engram, the chip, and the takeover.
They didn't tell you that.
That you had to discover inside the game because they didn't leak that.
No, they did not. That was not leaked.
That was not leaked. Now, if you're sharing a potential major spoiler with someone helping you, like Studio Blue, you can have an NDA. That NDA is golden.
Yeah, NDAs.
We have never had anyone who we have helped approach us with an NDA, but if they did, we would sign it in a freaking heartbeat because we respect people's IP. Now, last piece, okay? This may seem counterintuitive, but it is the exact opposite. It is the golden way to protect your IP.
Yes, it is.
When you publish it, go ahead.
When you publish your work, do so as widely and as broadly as possible.
Yes.
Use a ton of attribution.
Yes.
Publish it everywhere and make sure the entire world knows this thing is yours.
That's right.
You got your name all over it.
Because there is nothing in the world more powerful to protect your intellectual property than the entire world.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you manage to get to that point without anyone stealing your shit, and you get it so the whole world knows you created that thing, you own it, and the world knows you do.
Here's a good example just popped in my head.
What's that?
American McGee's Alice.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That very unique take on Alice in Wonderland. If you haven't played it, play that game.
Please play it.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who owns it.
That's right.
And you will never be able to look at an image from that game and say, that's mine, or that's someone else's. No, it's that person's. Okay, so now it's time for us to take questions from our live audience.
And remember, if you've been watching, use the podcast question feature in chat.
This actually has been one of the shortest topic discussions we've ever gone through.
Because we are not getting into actual legal speak, that we're not lawyers, we avoid that. So because we took that aspect out of it, it shortened this up considerably.
And then I think we can kind of give this last little piece here. If you have questions beyond this podcast, if you have questions in general that we can't answer, there's nothing wrong with finding a copyright attorney and talking to them. There are lawyers who that is their job. All they do is deal with intellectual property rights.
Exactly.
And a consultation fee, if it sets you back $100, oh my God, it's $100. I don't know what it costs really. The peace of mind you're going to get is well worth the cost.
The initial consultation fees are generally low. In my experience, it's always been pretty low. Yeah.
And that's a good thing because legal advice can get really expensive.
Well, sure it can.
But it can. Yeah. If you have any questions that cannot be answered by laymen like us, go find a intellectual property lawyer.
Yeah.
And get a consultation. Say, hey, look, I am creating this game and I'm a part of this community. And this community is very open and we all talk about our ideas. And I really am proud of this game and I'm going to sell it. And I'm terrified someone's going to steal it. Mm-hmm. What can I do to protect myself?
There you go. And then that person will help you.
Yeah. And they'll show you exactly where to go, what forms to fill out. And if they contradict us, then they're right and we're wrong.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because we are 100% not lawyers.
We're not lawyers. We don't even play lawyers on TV.
No, we do not. We are not Sam Waterston. Okay, yeah. Since I'm not seeing any questions from our live audience, I think we can go ahead and start wrapping it up. Any last thoughts on this from your NTO about maybe anything?
Well, I just want to say that anything that you create, just take the time. Please take the time and spend the money to make sure it stays with you.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more disheartening than creating something and then somebody else reaps all the benefits.
It's gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
It really is. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone who is watching, whether you're watching us live right now, whether you're watching us on VOD, whether you're catching us on iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify. You guys have given us all the love and really all the drive to continue doing this.
Absolutely.
And we're going to keep going. So I just want to go ahead and say thank you, everyone, and join us next time for DLC Not Included. And remember,
anyone can give you the key, but you have to go through the door.